Hey guys, Michal Hucko here. Welcome to another video in our Python for Beginners tutorial. And in this session we're gonna talk about tuples. Now, I have a lot of friends in the programming with Python, and some of them are never using the tuples in their own code. Yes, if we will be only writing the code, there won't be any, point to learn how to use tuples. But sometimes you are using code of someone else, and there is a high probability that this guy may use tuples in his code. So, in order to understand tuples, we will have this video. So let's go into the Visual Studio Code, and you can think about tuples as lists. So I will jump right into the hands-on.py. So as you can see, I'm already running the Python interpreter, and in order to define a tuple, you have to do it like this. So let's give it a nice variable name like number tuple equals to 1, 2, 3, and this is tuple. So basically the only difference between the tuple and list is in the brackets. So instead of the square brackets, we are using the round brackets, and you can immediately print the type of the variable number tuple to see that the Python has recognized a new data type. So as you can see, a class is tuple. So what are tuples good for? Now, the main difference between the tuple and list is that tuples are immutable. Now recall the other video where I was talking about the mutability and immutability, and lists are mutable. What does it mean? So you cannot change something in the tuple. You cannot do something like this. Number tuple 0, so let's say, so this will return the first element of the tuple. So the syntax for accessing the elements is exactly the same as in case of arrays, but you cannot set these to, let's say, 7, right? So if I run this, I got type error tuple object does not support item assignment. Now, this can be crucial in some situations, which we will cover in future videos. But right now, you have to keep in mind that tuples are immutable. Now, with tuples, there are a couple of syntax issues, which we will cover in examples. Now let's go to the file. What we have here. So I was talking about the fact that you cannot assign a value to a tuple to existing tuple because tuple is immutable. So let's talk about constructing a tuple. There is one more way how you can construct the tuple, just basically by skipping the parentheses. So if I run the command something like this, immediately out of nowhere, I will get a tuple as a result. Now the question is, how do we specify a single element tuple? Now this can be very tricky. In Python, well, for example, after everything I said right now, some of you may say, well, that's easy. You just go and you go like this, right? But that's not true. If you run these, you see, you get just the one. So you are not getting the tuple as an output. So in order to return a single element tuple, you need to add a comma at the end of the numbers within the single element tuple. Now this is a tuple and it's just a single element. So if you run like the first element of this tuple is 1 and the last element of this tuple is 1. So I'm doing this syntax for you, this special syntax in one line to learn new ways how you can write stuff. So you can just check out this and try the syntax in your interpreter to get familiar with the syntax when you will in the future see it in someone's code. Now let's go back to tuples. And why are tuples useful? For example, if you have a function like this, so function returning tuple, when you want to return more than one return value. So for example, this function returns 2 elements. So we were talking about functions in the previous video, and I showed you how you can write a function which is returning only one variable, or one value. But you can return as much value as you want. So for example, when you have the function like this defined, so let's run the definition, and when you call a function like this with 1 and 2 as the arguments, you will get, well, first these are 3 dots, you need to run enter in the interpreter. So when you will execute it like this, you will get a 2-element tuple of these elements. Now if you go and put there another element, there can be 3, 4, it's up to you, and this can be very useful. Now, why? you can directly assign the return value of this function to two variables. So for example, having this function over there, I have rewritten it here, you can directly assign the return value to two separate variables. So this is a valid syntax in Python. Now after running this, my question to you is, what is the value of variable e1? Yeah, it's 1, and e2, yeah, it's 2. Now what will happen if I specify only one variable? As you can see, the e1 is the whole tuple. Now, so this is crucial. So if a function is returning two values, it will return a tuple if you assign it to a one variable. But if we assign it to multiple variables, to two, we will get immediately the values. It's called unpacked. So we are unpacking the tuple values directly into the variables. Now what will happen if I put here, let's say, one more variable? After running this, I get the value error, not enough values to unpack. So whenever you see somewhere a word unpack, it means that it has something to do with return values of a function or with the tuples. Now, let's go next. We have this no-brain syntax, which I specified previously. So in order to specify a single element tuple, you need to put a comma there. We did it. And now some bonus tuples. So this is a sneaky tuple, right? So previously I showed you can define a tuple like this, 1, 2, 3. And you can also define a one element tuple like this. So 1, comma. And so based on these two facts, you can also define a single element tuple like this. So this is a very sneaky tuple. So beware of it. Now, when I have something like this, it's a tuple of strings. So elements in the tuple can be whatever type you want. Yes. And having this tuple, now this is interesting. So imagine now you have this tuple which I printed with 4 strings. So Michal Hutko, which is my name, is amazing, right? And now you want to unpack this tuple directly to 4 variables. So the same exercise as we did before with the function call can be done also with the variable. So if a variable is tuple, you can unpack it directly to variables. Now when I run these commands, each of the variable will have a separate string. Now, there is also one special syntax. For example, we have this tuple, so the same tuple as before. So let me just print it for you one more time. And now we are only interested in name and surname. So we don't have time to think about the variable names for the rest of the tuple elements. So we can specify these underscores, and that means that we will just skip the rest of the tuple and put it somewhere into, oblivion. So no interested. So after running this, we have, as you can see, we have the name and surname stored. Well, so in this video I showed you something about tuples. I talk about return types of functions when we want to return multiple values. I talk about the immutability of tuples. I hope you learned something new, guys, and don't worry, the practical part is coming in next video, so stay tuned for the next video. I hope I will see you in the next video. Have a nice day.